All right.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
Hello, Art. Nice to join you on Leap Day, February 29th here.
Yeah, only happens once
One,
every 4 years.
yep. So a unique discussion for a unique day, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about all the stuff that's going on in China and coronavirus and supply lines or supply chains. And since I know a lot of our imaging devices and equipment comes from China. I just wanted to get your thoughts on what's going on and what we can expect.
Well, I think it'll be interesting. I think you know, just almost like the rest of the world, and a lot of speculation on some of these things. Everybody's really wondering what to expect. It's kind of a new frontier, unknown, and this whole thing with the coronavirus actually kind of happened at a time that we seasonally go through in the imaging industry here, because it happened just over the Lunar New Year. And there's usually always some type of seasonal delays around this time. There's always a mad rush of getting things out before the Lunar New Year. And then when they're away for 2 weeks and they come back, it usually takes those factories a couple of weeks just to get back into the routine, just like most of us coming back from vacation. So I think just at this point here, it's been a little bit normal like it usually is. But the fact is, all of these areas of China, they're not all affected equally. So with regards to specific OEMs, some may be more severely affected than others. But you are seeing in the general shipping area of things that traffic is down quite a bit. I'd heard an interview last week on CNBC where they talked to someone who heads the port of Los Angeles, and they mentioned that traffic is down there 25%. So that just shows you that from the normal activity, there is quite a bit of a slowdown overall. But how it hits specifically in our imaging industry, I think we really have to wait and see what happens in the next week to see how that happens.
Right.
And I'm a little bit curious about what will happen from here, because today we're here on Leap Day, and traditionally at this point, next week is going to be the first week of March. Now, traditionally at this point, many OEMs are ready to meet with their dealers this coming week and the week after to talk about what they've done in business for 2020 so far. Many OEMs have quarterly targets and incentives, and with a lot of OEMs in the imaging business too, this is also the end of their fiscal year. So this is always a point where they're asking dealers to give them many more orders to hit numbers. And even usually at this time during the month of March, because of that behavior, we see a lot of self-inflicted back orders from the OEMs just because of this activity. So I'm really curious to see what happens this year. If there has been a slowdown of deliveries here, that type of situation may be more severe than we've seen in past years.
Right. Or if someone, I guess somebody else could step up to the plate and make a massive purchase before the end of the year, just because they might want to reduce their risk that they can't get supplies in a timely manner.
Well, yeah, of course, you're right on that, and that's why I mentioned I think these next 2 weeks are really critical to see what happens, because if it is more severe than it's been in the past, and people, understanding that there's been additional delay because of the coronavirus situation, it could lead to panic buying. With some of the, there might be some larger dealers that they have the wherewithal to decide that they may want to take on an extra month or two of inventory because they have the financial resources to do that. Not every dealer is in that same situation, but obviously the larger dealers that act quickly, there's more potential of there being a run popular supplies, and it could be difficult to keep up with demand for the rest of the dealer network around the U.S.
Understood. So China is a pretty big place. Have you ever been there?
Oh yeah. I've been to China. I've been to China a few times. Yeah.
So,
It is a very large country.
all right. So I'm familiar with that province called Wuhan. I think it's centered almost like in the middle of China. But
Right.
where is most of the manufacturing done in China? Is
Well,
there a different? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, there are different areas, and in the imaging industry, actually, there's quite a bit more in the southern and southeastern part of China, some of the Beijing area. So, and as I said, too, not every area of China is affected equally by this coronavirus situation. Some were more severe than others, and China's a very big place, as we said. I think there's roughly 14 cities that are 10 million or more people in the entire country, and yeah, it is true that there are some cities that were affected more severely and some not as much, where it may have little impact on those factories as far as how they're working and producing. So I guess if anyone in the dealer community, if they have a concern, I would say your best bet is to reach out to your OEMs and ask them directly how they see things, and what type of potential disruptions they may see, so that you can plan accordingly.
Interesting. I guess we're all going to have to wait and see, right?
I think that's the case too. I mean, there are a number of OEMs too, and as I said, the whole country of China wasn't equally affected here too. I'd say the same goes for each of those individual OEMs too. One might be a different situation than the other, but I think it all leads up to what happens over these next 2 weeks, and if some situations become clear that there are going to be shortages, how are people going to react to that, and what type of impact it has on the market. And we have seen situations like this in the past. Maybe not everyone has gone through it to the same degree, but one thing that comes to mind was going back in 2011. There was a situation with Rico when they had the earthquake in Japan, and there was a disruption on some supplies and machines at that point. I think that may have something you experienced a bit yourself.
Yeah, that was back in 9 years ago. Time flies.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the chat. I don't want to keep you too long because it's Saturday. I'm sure we got some other things to get done. But before I go, we always talk a little bit of baseball. So what do you think about your Yankees?
Well, I feel confident. I think this is their year. Even though they have injuries, I still expect them to be there at the top, even if they have to run the bases with crutches.
Even with Severino out for the year?
Yeah, well, it is what it is, and I think in the past we've always seen that when somebody is out, somebody unexpectedly steps in and puts in a better performance than we ever imagined, and that's kind of what happened this year. So they have to prepare and play the games, and let the season unfold.
That's it. That's all you can do is play the games and see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. That's about it. I don't want to hold you. I appreciate it.
Yep.
And I'm sure we'll be chatting shortly, Chris.
Yeah. I will say one other thing too, as far as if you do have concerns about any of these shortages here, I know at Polek and Polek we can be, some help as an alternative. And it might be it's probably something that you may want to look as far as what other options you may have if you find yourself running into shortages. It's always good to have choices to look into. And if you contact us at Polek and Polek, we're happy to discuss where you may have concerns. We'll tell you where we can help you. If we can't tell you, we'll tell you that too. Although when you look at alternatives, there are three things that that you'll know. There's always the information that you know. There's the information that you don't know, and the one that's most important is what you don't realize that you don't know, as far as alternative choices and how compatibles can help your independent dealership. So if you call us up, we're happy to help you with that. And if as I said, we can either help you, or if we can't help you, we'll tell you that too. But I've got a good hunch that we may discover some things that you don't realize, that you don't know how we could help you. And if that happens, then it would be time well invested.
That's awesome. That's a great. Like to hear that, and it's a great service that you guys do for the dealer community, and I appreciate the time again. And
yep, we're here to help, and yeah, thanks for taking the time to chat, Art. Nice talking with you.
Not a problem, Chris. I'll try and reach out to you sometime during the week, and thank you very much.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Good luck with everything.
Good Saturday. Bye-bye.
Bye.